the request to the broken party.
Hello and welcome to the Fitz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitz, and I am here in Mexico, with my beautiful co-host that people that are watching can't see because we are a silhouette because we wanted to show you this beautiful background. But Cinthanie, what's up, girl?
Hey, girl, hey. Hey, people, hey.
So today's episode is a very special one because it is being released on the very last day of the end of our first year of the Fitz and Healthy podcast. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty cool that we are recording it together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's kind of come full circle because we always, for the listeners, most of you may not know that we record remotely. So Lauren records from California, I record from Dallas. So we never are together, really. I think this is maybe our third time recording in person together.
Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of like a full circle moment. We get to like high five and take it all in.
And you know, most people don't actually watch our podcast on our YouTube channel. Although if you want to go to our YouTube channel, it's Fitz and Healthy Podcast. Mm-hmm. We're visually quite entertaining, I will say, right? But the background you see, we're actually on the rooftop of my room here in Mexico at the Hard Rock Cafe. We're on a free trip. A cafe, not a cafe.
Girl, we are no cafe.
We're not in a cafe. We're at the Hard Rock Resort in Riviera Maya.
We came all the way to Mexico just to go to a cafe.
Right. And actually, neither of us have had any alcohol today, believe it or not.
I think I'm just like spa drunk.
Yes, you're spa drunk.
Yeah.
I'll be spa drunk tomorrow, but I specifically was not any kind of drunk because I didn't want to sound a fool on our podcast today.
Even though we still sound a fool.
I know every
time
we do. So today's episode is a year in review, and we were talking about what we were going to talk about, and it's just going to be a conversation because this year has been kind of a crazy year
for both of us.
For both. It's been a roller coaster ride of good and bad.
Yes.
There's been like highs and lows, and let's start with talking about our first how we basically recorded how many episodes before we even launched.
Oh my gosh!
Did we have 10?
Say I think it was 10. I think it was 10 episodes that we had recorded because we released 10 when we launched.
Yes. On May 1st.
On May 1st, 2017.
Yes. So tomorrow, because it's actually not the 30th of April right now.
But when we release this
when we release it,
when
will
you guys
be
hear this as it's hitting your ears, it's
the official last day of our first year.
Yeah.
So May 1st, we launched and we dropped 10 episodes. And actually, those 10 episodes have been some of our most popular.
Which is so funny because I can't go back and listen to them because my audio was so freaking bad.
I know.
It was before I had gotten a better. I mean, we were grassroots, okay?
Yes.
So it's before
we're still kind of grassroots.
We totally are. But it was before I had gotten a better mic and upgraded my equipment a little bit.
Yes.
And so the audio is just, I sound like I'm in a closet because I am.
Well,
I record from a closet.
Yeah. You are still in the closet, but it doesn't at least sound like it anymore.
It's so much better now. So much.
It is.
But I mean, we had to start somewhere, and that's where we started. You know.
True.
So, yeah.
So our first 10 episodes were some of our most popular, and I know one episode that everyone talks about is the beginning. Like a lot of people don't know the story of how I got to where I'm at, from doctor to dancer.
Yes.
And then we've got the high fat, low carb one with Melissa. That was a huge download that people are still downloading and talking about.
Yeah.
What are some other ones in that number, the top 10, not top 10, but first 10 are babies. I don't even remember.
I think we did Is Fat Making You Fat? I think that was one of our first episodes.
Yes.
I think that was one of our first episodes as well. Did we do one on intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
In the first 10?
When we interviewed Melissa? Or no, did we not talk about intermittent fasting?
I know, a year ago.
It's all good. It's all good. So let's talk about our first off-site interview. Do you remember what that was? Where
what
we
do you
were
mean by off-site?
Off-site, where you're not in Dallas and I'm not in California.
Okay, our first
Let's see if she
off-site
remembers.
interview was with Chris Down.
Hey, yes.
That was that was the first time we had seen each other since we launched.
You're right.
I think we need to talk about how we launched this.
Okay,
Like,
go.
I think that needs to be part of
Go.
it. Okay, so I think it was in January last year. So as coaches, we have like what's called success partners, which is basically just like a buddy that you have that to bounce ideas off of in your business and in your coaching business. So I'd reached out to Lauren because I was like, you know what, I'm just going to shoot for the stars here and I'm just going to reach out to Lauren because we were at totally different places in our business, but I wanted to work with somebody that I knew would push me and that I knew I could push them, you know? And so I reached out to Lauren. She said yes, and we were just sharing our goals and our ideas for the year. And she said that she wanted to launch a podcast, which is so funny because I like always like deep down, like in my heart, I've always wanted to do podcasting, but like I've never really like pursued it. And so I just was like, okay, that's a really cool idea. And then she just was like, as I want to say it was maybe February when you were like, I think I want to have a co-host too. And you were just bouncing ideas off and you were like, and I think maybe you would be a good co-host. And from that moment, I was like, Melissa, I have to be her co-host. Like I have to figure out how to do it. I like played it cool, but I was
You
like,
did. You totally
I played it so cool.
I have to give you credit.
Because I was like, okay, like, I'm an option that's cool. Like maybe I can pencil it in if it happens. And so I remember you telling me because you were like, I need somebody that's funny. And I was like, I can be funny. I'm going to be so funny that I have to be your co-host. So we saw each other in California in February.
Yep.
Was it February, beginning March? It was end of February, I think.
It was the end of February.
Okay, so end of February.
Because we were right at the 12-week mark, remember?
Yes, yeah. So, 12 weeks. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can't leave that out.
Yeah, we had read the book, The 12-Week Year,
Yes.
and Lauren's 12-week plan was to launch a podcast on May 1st. And my 12-week plan was to become a part of this podcast. So we were in California, and I remember Leah, I was talking to Leah about it, and she's like, well, Lauren said she wants somebody funny, and she thinks you're funny. And I was like, I'm going to be the funniest person she knows all weekend. So the whole weekend, I was on point with all my jokes. I had you and Leah rolling all weekend, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then
you were teaching a Snapchat that weekend.
I was teaching you Snapchat. That's right. And then
how much has changed in just
yes,
crazy.
Yeah, that's funny. That's right. I forgot about that.
Because I was like, I'm too old to know how to do this. Help me.
No, I remember that. But I remember we were sitting in the audience at this business seminar, and I don't remember who was speaking. It was maybe the guy that was talking about. Was it Pat Flynn?
Oh, no. It was what's his name?
Who was talking?
Brendan
Burchard?
No, maybe it was Pat Flynn.
It was either Brendan Burchard or Pat Flynn. But anyways.
Great podcast, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
You should listen to him after ours.
Yes, after ours. So we're sitting in a row because we were with a couple other people too that we like mutually know. And Lauren looked at me and she's like, you want to be a part of the podcast? And I remember just inside I was like, but I just was like, I looked at her all cool.
You did.
Composing. I was like, yeah, girl, like, let's do it. And then I was rooming with Melissa and we got back there and I was like, Lauren said I could be a part of the podcast. I did it. And I totally played it cool. The Lord has never heard this story. I never told her this. But I was like, I did it. I was funny. And now I'm part of the podcast. But I think that we've gotten to the point where now you know that I have more to contribute than just humor.
Absolutely.
You know, but
I knew that then too.
But that's what got my foot in the door. Though. I was like, funny.
I'll be honest with you. That is not what got your like.
Good to know.
It is. I mean, that helped, but that wasn't my deciding factor.
Yeah.
Because
what was your deciding factor in having a part of the podcast?
Because I know you hate this word, but I definitely wanted someone from the millennial generation that presents, because I believe our podcast can change anyone's lives. Yeah. But if we can get to someone in your early generation before you start really, because your 20s is when you're figuring out who the hell you are, right?
Yes,
and if you can have someone like the two of us that can be helping you, walking shoulder to shoulder through that terrible journey of figuring out who you are. I mean, really, like the 20s is it's rough. I'll be honest with you. I love the 30s. The 20s were rough. But I love the fact that you're well-rounded because yes, you're funny, but you're also like goal-driven. Mm-hmm. You also you're smart and you learn in areas that you don't know much about. So meaning
we have this on recording. So now I'm gonna be like,
stop
it some more.
No, but truly, like I had no idea that she like literally fangirled out on me.
I was so stoked. Like I secretly like inside was freaking out, but I was like, crazy. I gotta play it cool. I can't be a fangirl. I've got to be a partner. And
yes,
so I was like,
exactly.
Keep yourself together. But it's been such a cool, I think we both have really had, it's been such a growth period.
Oh man.
And I think it would have been a growth period with or without the podcast, but the fact that we've had the podcast to kind of document it and like go through this process together has been such a cool year.
Yes.
Like super cool
yes.
year.
I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yes, yeah, totally, for sure. And
chills
Lauren always gets chills, but I got chills. So that means something.
Yeah. So, okay. So what made me think of our first away interview where we actually got to sit together and interview someone, being Chris Downing, was this morning. Chris Downing led us in a workout.
Yes,
and
anyone so full circle.
Yes,
it is.
right?
None of this has been by accident.
No.
I will just say that.
No, for sure. So last year I was able to meet Chris Downing, and those of you that have religiously listened to every single episode, you heard me interview him in Santa Monica. The audio was terrible for that. So I was thinking I need to interview him again, especially because so much has happened in the last year. But but for those of you that don't know, Chris Downing is a super trainer for Beachbody. What all that means is a lot of people know like P90X and Tony Horton and Insanity and Shaun T. And so Chris Downing is essentially Beachbody, one of their newest super trainers.
Right.
So I got to meet him last year. And I went up to him like, hey, my name's Lauren Fitzgerald and I've got a podcast and I'd really like to interview you. And that was just kind of like history after that. And so I interviewed him in Santa Monica, but then the summertime, that was when we were in
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Yeah. Exactly. And that was like right when his Shift Shop debuted.
Yes.
So he's super busy. That dude was going on like 2 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
But
Hats
he's
off
still,
to Chris Downing because he's probably one of the most humble. He made me cry today during the workout.
And she's about to cry again.
Because he's such a good motivator. Like he just is so in his power. And so just being in his presence and being able to have a conversation with him, like he's the most humble, but just powerful person. Like when he talks to you, like he's speaking directly to your soul.
Chills again.
You have no choice but to listen. And so this morning I was like, okay, I'm listening. Okay.
For real, y'all. For real. Any of you that follow us on Instagram or Insta stories, I should have Insta storied it, but I didn't.
Lauren looked over at me and I was like, did this make you cry? And she was like, no. I was like, oh, okay. Well, he just totally like stepped into his power. It was so cool.
Yeah.
And just because we know him a little bit more personally than other coaches because we've had the opportunity to sit down. So just to see him in different elements it's just so cool. It's super cool.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So and I know that this is a hard question and I probably should have thought about this before because I don't really know. Actually, no, I do know what the answer is. What's been your favorite episode so far?
Well, I have two.
Okay.
One is the one we did with Anthony DiClemente.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because he just was such a cool guy. Like, he was just so fun to chat with. Like, we had fun with him. Like, he was super informative and super fun.
That was the episode that we talked about biohacking. And if you don't know what biohacking is essentially just like what a computer hacker does. They figure out how to break into the system and change it. A biohacker is someone who figures out, okay, I've got this problem. How can I change it with my own,
just through naturopathic ways.
Yes.
Just being in tune with your body and how it functions.
Yes. And he was informative. He was funny, and it was just a fun interview.
Like I felt like we were just like kicking back, like talking to a friend.
Yeah.
Like, he was just such a cool guy.
He was in the middle of the woods too.
Yeah, and he had his shoes off because he was grounding while we were recording.
Exactly.
So he was just a super cool guy. And then of course my favorite episode that we ever did was when we interviewed Tanner.
Oh,
like that's my favorite.
Oh yeah,
that's my favorite episode.
Okay.
Yeah, just because like that, it was. He knows like I do this little podcast thing, but like for him to like come and like see it and like be a part of it, I think like gave him a lot of clarity.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, that was my absolute favorite. Was to interview Tanner.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. So I have two favorites too, and one is a favorite for a weird reason, but it felt so empowering, and it's the Seize the Day.
Yeah.
Because that was my episode where I literally came out of the closet, if you will, about what had happened with my ex-husband and what happened with our divorce, and really got to talk about how alcoholism has affected me and in my journey of getting to where I got, because so many people, I share almost everything online.
Yeah.
But
there's some things that like you do keep to yourself.
True.
But because you share so much online, people wonder and they ask and they pry.
Yes.
And so you almost feel like you have to explain it.
Yes.
But you did it on your terms.
Yes.
When you were right with it and you had sorted it out. And so I think that the way that it was done was just like it was a very clean cut, like not a messy, like airing my dirty laundry, but like sharing my story.
Yes.
You know, and there's definitely a difference.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So that was one of my favorite episodes. And then I freaking loved Sean Stevenson.
He was great. He was super great. And that was a goal of ours.
Yes.
That was one of our goals. We wanted to interview Mark Sisson.
Yep.
And we wanted to interview Sean Stevenson. And they both happened within our first year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, truly, like, so we were talking with Robert before, and we were talking about the fact that how many reviews we have and how many downloads, and the fact that we have close to 200,000 downloads in the first year is huge.
Yeah.
I actually know a few people that launched their own podcast this year, and we're talking like they have a few thousand downloads.
Yeah, which is still great.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have a large impact in our first year is like, that's something to be proud of.
Yes,
like,
no,
that is really, really cool.
I truly, and I'm saying this because we couldn't do that without the people that are listening to this right now.
Yeah, nope.
And have you had people come up to you at this trip and be like, I love your podcast?
I haven't this trip. I've had a hat on the whole time though. I've kind of like flown a little incognito.
Yeah.
I haven't tried to be seen while
No, I'm
but
right
at
there.
Summit, when was that the last time? Well, besides my wedding.
Yeah, besides your wedding.
But I mean, yeah.
They can't see us because we're silhouettes too.
Yeah,
we're like,
maybe it's a better day.
Yeah.
But remember some people like coming up and like saying stuff, and that was only after a couple months.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of when I was like, oh, like they really are listening. Like there's a number of we like ask Robert every time, like, what are our numbers? Where are we at? But like having it like meeting people and hearing their story and like them coming up to us and like, thank you for having this podcast. Like that was like, that's really cool. So like, it's one thing to know it, but to see it and to hear it is super cool.
And if I had $1 for everyone that came up to me and it's like, hey girl, hey,
then we would get paid to podcast.
For real.
Every message I get starts with, hey girl, hey.
And it still makes me giggle. I'm stupid like that.
It's because it's the dumbest thing.
It is.
And it just like happened. I don't know how it did. I don't even know, but it just kind of became like a thing that we have to do. It did.
So yeah, we're the Hey Girl Hays.
Yep.
It's quite ridiculous. So, okay, what has been your biggest struggle with podcasting?
So when I came into it, I was in such a different place than I am now.
Okay.
In great ways.
Yeah.
In super great ways. So like this last year has been a growth year.
Yes.
But I don't think I really knew what my power was at the time when I first started podcasting. Like I knew like I had ambition and I wanted to like fight for things, but I just didn't know like what was it that made me me or like what my talent was to do that.
Okay.
And it's talking to people like that. I know.
Chills again, ladies and gentlemen.
I just know now that like if I can just have a conversation with someone, I think that I can change their life.
Yeah.
Like just by talking to them. But I didn't know that I could do that beforehand.
Interesting.
And I definitely know that this has been the platform that has helped me do that because I think it's kind of helped me understand what my power is. And like I do have good content and good things and like I can help people. Like I can impact them, you know? And so especially even just the last couple episodes we've released, I've gotten so many messages that are people like, girl, you're just like shining in that episode. Like you're just living.
Yes.
So I definitely think this has been like I said, this wasn't an accident. Like this was not an accident.
100%.
My jokes may have got me here, but it wasn't an accident. Your girl made it. No, but I think it has definitely been something that I think it kind of gave me purpose.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was a part of something, but because of that, it got me empowered to a place where like I know who I am, not with or without the podcast. Not that I would ever not want it, but just knowing that like it was kind of a stepping stone into stepping into more of like a powerful version of myself.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
now I think that was my biggest struggle at the beginning, was just understanding what my role was, because I was eager. Like I said, like I had drive to do it, but I didn't know really like what I was going to bring to the table. I was like, Lauren's a doctor. She's a much more successful coach than me. Like I was like, and I'm just like, hey girl, hey. Right.
But you know, I think that you represent, and this is another role that I don't think I even realized why I wanted you to be my co-host, because you represent a great example of someone that you have every reason to make the excuses that other people do of, well, I don't have this degree and I don't have that and whatever. So these are all of the reasons why I'm letting myself get out of success and be okay with failure.
Totally.
But you, I mean, literally, you are disproving every single stereotype of your generation of the fact, like I was literally just talking about, you know, is a college degree actually really necessary anymore?
Yeah.
Because I was talking with some of my friends who, you know, their kids are in college and like how much money it costs just for a freaking year. And like, and then they end up dropping out. And so what's the point? Like, not to say that I'm against getting a college degree, but like,
but like for me, there was no way you could have talked me to go to college because I wasn't going to pay to sit in a classroom because I wasn't a good classroom learner.
Right.
I am an experienced learner. I'm not a whiteboard classroom learner. It was not ever who I was as a student.
Right.
And so
but you are a student of life, and holy crap.
That's what I'm saying. And I know that the podcast is what got me on my war path though. You know what I'm saying? Like literally war path. Like
chills again, ladies and gentlemen.
Because like I said, I was hungry for it. Like I was eager enough to just be like, I'm just gonna put myself out there and like if it sticks, cool. But then when it did, I was like, well shit though, what's my plan? Like what am I gonna bring to the table? Like I have to say stuff, like I have to bring stuff to the table. So I think it was definitely what got me on my war path, is just stepping into that power and knowing that like if I can speak to people, I hope that I can speak directly to them. Right. You know? Right. So
okay, so we're at the end of 1 year of officially podcasting. Where do you see the Fitz and Healthy podcast at 5-year marker?
I think that we are going to be in a place where we could have a studio.
Okay. And
it's going to be on recording. So even if we're not in the same place, but we will both be in a situation where
you're not going to be in your closet anymore.
I won't be in my closet anymore. But which is so funny though, because I remember, so my guest bedroom closet is where I record, right? And it was literally a closet when we started. But I was telling Tanner, it's like, I remember before we started, I was like, I need somewhere to record. Like I can't record out in the living room or whatever. So I ripped all of like the rods and shelves out of there and painted it and put a little bitty desk in there. And it's just like and some lights, and it's just my little like nook. And it's just funny because it literally started like, you know how like they have that picture where it's like, Microsoft started in this garage and I'm like the Fitz and Healthy podcast started in my closet and we're going to get to bigger and better things.
Yes, for sure.
I think that it will have an even larger impact by then as well, because I definitely think that, okay, now we like, it's still kind of like riding like a bike with a flat tire.
Yes.
Like it's still a struggle bus, but we're like,
amen to that, y'all. Amen to that.
But I think that as we still continue to grow and evolve, that we'll be able to pull a little more and put a little bit more into it and reach more people. And so I think that I just see a lot of growth. Like I don't see it dying down anytime soon. As long as we still nurture the baby that we have built, if you will, then I think it will grow. Even continuous.
And if you look at the greats, so like for right now, Sean Stevenson, the Model Health Show, it's consistently in the top 3 for health and fitness podcasts.
And for a reason.
He's been doing it for, I want to say, 7 or 8 years. He's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And if you go back and listen to his first year of episodes, they're rough.
Which we're probably in 3 years, we're probably going to go back and be like, oh my gosh.
Painful. But you know what? One thing that I have to give you credit for, and myself too, is that we always try and make content where at least there will be an audience that will benefit from something from our messages.
Yes. First, we were just like, we're just going to talk about this or we're talking about this. But we got to a point where like, okay, what does our audience need to hear?
Right.
Like I just think of it as like, if I were driving to work, if I was still commuting, because that's when I started listening to podcasts.
Yep, absolutely.
What would it be that I would need to hear today?
Right.
You know? And so I think that really like basically having like an avatar, like an ideal audience of who we want to reach has really given us clarity in our episodes of like, what does this person need to hear? And it's kind of the 4 topics that we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
We narrowed it down to these 4 topics that are.
Remind the listeners what we try and do.
Oh, watch me not know these topics.
It's all good. We've got Robert that can whisper in our ears and remind us.
Health.
Yep.
Fitness.
Yep.
Lifestyle. Nutrition.
There you go. Bam.
So we narrowed it down because at first we're just like, hey, we're going to have a health podcast. But it was like, okay, but that's a very broad
very broad
topic. And so, and we so much, we did Fitz Fridays. We didn't do Fitz Fridays. We would do live recordings, not live record. Like we did so many things to just work out the bugs. And like, it was definitely like a lot of manpower in the beginning for sure. Like we were putting in like Fridays completely, like nothing else.
Yes.
Nothing else. Those are podcast days. Tanner's knew, like, don't bug me on Fridays. That's my podcast day. I'm going to be in the closet all day.
Yes.
Bug me.
And now it's a well-oiled machine for the most part.
Well, yeah. And we've gotten it down to where we spend way less time. Yes. But I think we have the
shout
best.
Out to Robert.
Yes, Robert. Shout out to Robert. You can't hear him. He's smiling. He's pushing. But we have gotten to a point where now we have, I think, the best content that we have, the best delivery that we've had with the least amount of effort.
Yes.
Because we've kind of like, and I'm sure like it'll still evolve and like
we'll
go back to the drawing board so many times.
Yep.
But I'm really happy with where we have evolved to.
For sure.
Very happy with where we've evolved to.
You know, I think that, and even talking about content that helps the listener, even this one, you know, I'm sure some people are like, well, what about this one? Well, first of all, it's entertaining.
No, but if we make you laugh, it's
truly
helpful.
Like I know, and I do. I'm like,
and you know, I'm gonna end it with the goodness.
No, but I think that is something like just to know that every time that you can come to listen to our podcast, whether it be a 30-minute one or an hour-long one or whatever, and know that you're going to be listening to 2 positive people that put positive energy into the universe that really do want to change the world for better, one person at a time, one set of ears at a time. And if that's all that people walk away from this particular episode, but I want people to walk away from this episode with something else. I want them to realize that you and I are nobody special.
Truly, amen. Amen on a Sunday, on a Monday, on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
No, but really, like, I want everyone to understand that we are nobody special. But we are, what makes us different than the average person is that we took a dream and acted on it. And we continue to take dreams and act on it. And I mean, I think there's no better place than where we're looking at right now to give that message. Because I mean, this is man, how many trips have I been on this year? Hell. But literally my life 3 years ago, I was a slave to the OR. I was on call every 3rd night. I was dealing with a-hole surgeons. Not all surgeons are a-holes, but there are a lot of a-hole surgeons, just for the record. And I liked what I did as an anesthesiologist, but I love what I do now. And you get one life, and you don't know if today's going to be your last day. So why would you spend 5, 6, maybe even 7 days a week doing something that you kind of like and don't love? And why I think a lot of people do that is because they stay in fear, because they're fearful of, you know, well, maybe I won't be able to pay the bills or whatever. And I'm not telling you to just quit your job and you know, do whatever, but I definitely want people to look at your story and my story and realize that we are living a life that we have designed, and it's still being designed. And it's kind of cool because I mean, everything that has happened this year.
It's been a lot.
It's been so much.
It has been so much. It really there has been so much evolving and changing and growing, and just, I don't know, like I said, it was not by accident that we started the podcast and what we did, that it was in what season of life we've been in for both of us. Like, and I think definitely, like I said, it was such a growth period. And if that doesn't confirm the fact that literally we are no different from you listening in your car right now, or folding your laundry, or picking up your kids from soccer, or studying for your next exam, whoever you are, wherever you are listening to this. I love the reviews that we get where they always say like, oh, it's like talking to girlfriends. Like, I feel like I'm just like talking along with you in the car. I'm like, that is perfect.
Gives me chills again.
Because that's what I hope our listeners know, is that like, were you just your friends? Like just like a friend, like you talk to them about your goals or your dreams or your ambitions, and they give you advice or whatever. And it's whether, you know, it's up to you what you do with it.
Yes.
But that's what I hope, is that we are your friends. And like, I love when people do come up and they're like, you don't know this, but like, we're best friends.
I know.
Podcast, and I'm like, good. Like to me means that we're serving our purpose, because I never want it to be coming from a place of like superior or like,
no.
Because I am not superior in any shape
we
or
put
form.
our pants on the same way that you do, people.
And that's the thing, is like, even for me, like I had mentioned, like I felt like I had to, like, I was hungry for this, and I just kind of put my foot in, and I didn't know what was going to happen. But
you faced a fear.
Look what it has evolved to. And I mean, there's been so many times where I would come off an episode and I'm like, man, I bombed that. Like, I didn't say anything, or like, feel like I didn't add any value or whatever. But you rinse and repeat, and you just do it again, and you keep evolving and changing and growing, no matter what.
That's the key word.
Yes, whatever.
Because the opposite of growth is
death.
Death.
So weird.
Death. Yeah.
Robert's gonna like make a remix of that. I know it's coming.
Okay.
But your process, though, and like,
Yes.
that's the thing, is you guys get to listen to our process.
Yes.
And so, because you don't physically see our process, we're friends. But you know how you see your friends go through things?
Yes.
The only difference between us and you listeners is that you don't see us go through our things. You just hear about it. You hear about the end result. You don't get to see the process.
Yeah.
But know that this is a process, where we are as a process in our lives, where we have gotten to as a process. And for any person, you cannot compare your process to somebody else's progress.
No, exactly.
You know? And so just remember that. Remember that we are your friends.
Yes.
Yeah. We're your friends. We do stupid stuff just like you. And mess up. And that's the thing, is that I hope that we always come to you from a place of love and connection as mutual people, and never a place from like superior, or, you know, like I said, like I hope it's just a conversation with friends. Like I hope it just sounds like life advice from friends or whatever, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do want to point out is that we've both experienced heartache and loss, and we've experienced some really amazing highs. And we're not going to obviously talk in depth about, but you actually lost some loved ones.
Yeah.
I didn't lose loved ones, but I lost a friendship that really affected me in a very deep way. Started dating, which that was its own roller coaster ride.
I got married.
You got married?
Which was a very different roller coaster ride, but I mean,
you actually had a literal ride on a motorcycle outside of your.
I did. We exited our wedding on a dirt bike.
And the coolest picture I've ever seen post-wedding, leaving the bride and groom leaving. I mean,
picture.
Literally, Lori.
If that was the only picture I got from that wedding, I
mean, for real. Like, Lori killed it.
Yeah,
she's our photographer for really everything.
Yeah.
So shout out
all
to Lori.
of the beautiful cover pictures that you see on the episodes are Lori Sparkman.
Yep. Find her on IG.
Find her, because she's a traveling photographer, and she's amazing.
She is amazing. But the dating thing, we're gonna have an episode where we're gonna talk about dating,
because this is your process.
Yes,
this is where
it is.
Yeah.
It is. So I am currently in a relationship, and I know, man, if y'all know how many people message me like, okay, what's the scoop? I'm like, yo, it's my personal life. But I was talking. So my man's name is Chris, and I was talking with Chris because Chris and I both had prior relationships, marriages. We're both divorced, single, female and males. So
you ain't both female.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But he's been single for 6 years. I've been single for 2.5, and so we've been that post-divorce single and dating stage.
Yeah.
And we finally met, and I'm thinking that he's going to be around for the long haul. I'll just put that out there.
You heard it here first, folks. So if you want the scoop,
exactly,
listen to the podcast.
Exactly. But there was some heartache before that.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really hard to talk about, because dating, you got to be really vulnerable, and it's not fun.
Yeah, totally.
And heartache led to me meeting a man that I really only thought existed in the movies, and totally worth the heartache.
And my loss and heartache, I think, made me step just even that much more into my power, because life is short. And I had a really unfortunate testament of that, but again, we either choose to grow or go in the opposite direction. And I choose to grow through that experience. And I think you chose to grow through yours too. So just committing to our growth through the podcast, growth of where we've been at in our personal lives, growth in our businesses, growth together, because it's hard to not grow apart, even though, because we're in different places in our life.
Completely.
And we don't live in the same place. And so it could be very easy for us to just disconnect and only show up to podcast and just leave it at that. Like, we could totally make...
That's not going to happen because you're like my sister. Sorry.
We could totally fake this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know, true.
But we have committed to growth together through the podcast, because it hasn't always been easy. Robert has committed to his growth in this podcast. And I mean, he's totally sharpened his skills. And like, it is a masterpiece. What the podcast is an art form, and it's Robert's talent, and he has completely just delivered it in the most gorgeous way. So hats off to Robert.
Yes, he's smiling and blushing.
He's trying to play cool, but he appreciates it. I know he does. I don't think he knows how much we appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because this wouldn't be what it is without Robert.
No.
Lauren and I could not. If it was just up to us to try to do this.
Yeah, it would not be cute.
Robert's like, yeah, you need me.
Yeah.
You need me.
So last words to our listeners on this very last episode of our first full year.
Gosh, that's crazy.
In the podcasting world.
You are a good person. And you deserve good things to happen to you. And what I mean by that, though, and I delivered that at every single episode, because you have to commit to your growth.
Yes.
And you need to be reminded of that. That's what you're doing, is that you are growing, and that you have to stay committed to seeing it that way.
Yes.
Through all of the things that you go through in your life. And so that's why at the end of every episode, I always deliver that you are a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you, because you have to be committed to your growth, and you have to sometimes hear that reminder.
Yeah.
That if you're growing right now, you're a good person. You still are, and you still deserve good things, even if you're in a growth period. And
I think the underlying message behind that is we're trying to teach people and ourselves, because we're in this process as well.
I am reabsorbing that. Every time I say that, I am re-manifesting it to myself.
Yes. But I think when it comes down to it, it's learning how to love yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you are feeding yourself the best food possible, if you're becoming active and exercising every day, if you're feeding your mind, if you're feeding your relationships, if you're taking care of everything that makes you whole, you are loving yourself. And you're
committed to your growth. You are committed to all parts of your process of growing.
And the opposite of growth is
I'm always gonna say it like that from now. You're gonna get a random voice note from me, and it's just gonna be like, duh.
Sorry, y'all. I couldn't help it, for real.
I told you my jokes got me there.
So truly, I want to say a huge thank you to every single person that has downloaded even just one episode. Of course, we appreciate the ones that have downloaded all 94.
Our homegirls.
Yes, for sure. Our tribe.
Hays.
Yeah, our tribe. I appreciate every single person that's taken the time to give us a review, and we're almost at 200 reviews, which is freaking awesome.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, it is. Because there are podcasts that have been around for 5+ years that don't even have 100. So the fact that we have almost 200 is pretty freaking cool. But I really want to just acknowledge all of the people that not only have supported us and listened to us, but have actually taken that information and applied it. Because that is the big, and I'm guilty of it too. Reading a personal development book or listening to personal development book and then not doing crap with what I've learned from it. Because ultimately we want you guys to apply the stuff that we are teaching you.
Always say knowledge is potential power. Because if it's not applied, then it's nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So just I and of course I want to give a shout out to both you and Robert, because I definitely 100% could not do this without you guys. I wouldn't want to do it without you guys. But this has been an amazing first year with its ups and downs. I know that I have become a better person just from the podcast alone. And I hope that everyone that has been a part of it, whether they're active parties of the podcast or...
I hope that the information impacts our listeners the same way the experience impacts us.
Yes.
That's what I hope for.
Yes, absolutely. So I thank every single person for supporting us in this first year. I look forward to many years of the Fitz and Healthy podcast, bringing the best stuff to you guys that will ultimately change your life and help you have a more Fitz and healthy life. So we end every single episode with the most important message of the day. And Cinthanie, can you round us out?
It is that you are a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you.
Thank you guys for listening. Happy 1-year anniversary. Make sure that you find us on social media. You can find Cinthanie on Instagram and Facebook at Cinthanie. So that's CINTHANIE, and on Snapchat at Cinthanie P. And find me on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Club Fitz Fitness. Remember, that's FITZ Fitness. And on Snapchat, just at Club Fitz. I appreciate your time listening so much. If you enjoyed this episode of the Fitz and Healthy podcast, can you please go do me a favor and go subscribe at whatever platform that it is that you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. We read every single review, and we appreciate the time that you take to leave your thoughts and opinions. Now, also remember, while I am a medical doctor, the information I provide here is not intended to provide medical advice or a professional diagnosis, opinion, treatment, or services to you or to any other individual. I am providing general information for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for medical or professional care. You should not use this information in place of a visit, call, consultation, or the advice of your physician or other healthcare provider. The information I share is not intended to treat, cure, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. If you believe you have a medical emergency, just call 911 immediately or your physician. Now, enough of that medical legal jargon. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate your time. Now, go live a Fitz and healthy life.